afternoon, Allied Nation. Thank you so much for tuning into this edition of our live Q&A special. I'm joined by a very wonderful guest, but before I introduce her, I would like to go over some housekeeping items with you. We do have an open chat section, so please feel free to drop your questions and comments in there, and we will get to them as soon as possible. And please feel free to check out our Passport app. Very easy to use. You can check out all of our latest and greatest jobs, as well as get paired up with one of our awesome recruiters if you haven't done so already. And you can also check us out on Instagram at AMN Allied. And without further ado, I would like to introduce you to my special guest, Corey. Corey, thank you so much for hopping on in this afternoon. To get things started, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, so I initially went to Northampton Community College, started off there, went right into X-ray, and before I even graduated X-ray, started on an advanced skill internship for MRI, went immediately into MRI, and while I was learning that to get my boards, I did work for a short period of time as a perm tech, so this way I could learn that, and then I started traveling right away, and been traveling pretty much ever since. There was a short point in 2020 when just travel jobs were a little scarce. So during that time, I did go back to being permanent because that benefited me the most. And then I realized how deep travel runs in your blood, and got back out there again. And once again, been traveling ever since.
And the rest is history, right?
Pretty much.
So what got you into travel right out of, well, pretty much, I mean, you held that perm gig for a little bit, but pretty much right out of school?
One thing I've always wanted since I was a little kid is me and my mom, we always had this goal of visiting all 50 states. That was always our goal. First goal was to do it before I was 18. That unfortunately did not happen, but we are still continuing that goal, and travel was just the right plan for me to go down. And it's been amazing. It's shown me so much of this country. And I've learned so much more being a traveler than I would have if I just stayed in my one little hospital, because I've gotten to some of the biggest, most well-known hospitals in this country. And even throughout that, I went to little small ones as well, and I've enjoyed it tremendously. And that's just being on the road is what really got me going.
That's awesome. Yeah, if I knew then what I know now, I'd probably be a healthcare traveler. But roads turn a different way sometimes. So when you first started traveling, well, actually backtrack a little bit further before you got traveling. Granted, it was a few years ago, but what was your to-do list like? Like, what was it like to get started up there?
So on my to-do list, and what I have learned from that for new people out there, is definitely talk to a ton of recruiters. I know that may sound counteractive or counterintuitive in a way, but talk to a ton, because you will find your right fit. Every agency pretty much will have your right fit. I found my right fit at AMN. Adam is amazing, absolutely wonderful. And make sure when you're talking with these recruiters, interview them. Make sure that when they're interviewing you, you interview them as well, so you can find that great fit and start off on the right foot. And make sure, this is probably one that some people don't think about all the time, but your resume, start putting on your resume the equipment, the EMRs, all of that you're utilizing. And also go on to every resource you possibly can, all the social media outlets, and find travel info. It is out there. It is for free, and you do not have to pay for traveling info. It is out there. That's how I learned, for free while I was traveling, but I wish I would have just spent a little bit more time beforehand doing that.
That's a huge call on resume, which a lot of people don't mention, but yes, putting all that information on your resume, even city and state of places that you've worked, the city and state of your university that you went to, huge difference, because as soon as we receive it on the recruitment end, we're not going back and forth like, hey, Corey, where was that job exactly? And it just makes it a much more smooth process. So that is a huge call out there. And also, Adam, if you're watching, she did plug you there, buddy. So that was pretty cool. But finding the relationship between traveler and recruiter is definitely a priority. The biggest form of communication we have is through phone and through text message and through email. So you have to feel comfortable with somebody that you can reach out to and will reach back out to you as soon as possible. So that's huge. So you're on the imaging side, which we want to shout out here. In regards to travel, what prep work did it take to get started into assignment, licensure, credentialing, if you want to go into some of your experience there?
Yes. So one thing I would definitely highly recommend is you need to have a budget for travel. Things are going to cost more. Yes, you're getting paid more, potentially, depending on where you travel to, but you're going to have so many more costs. You're going to be getting your car looked at more often because, especially for someone like me, I primarily drive to all my locations, and I've done a full circle around the whole US, PA to Florida to California, back to PA again. So doing that, you are going to put a lot more miles, changing your tires out. One thing we found out while I was on assignment, a traveler came from the South. Her car did not have all-wheel drive or all-wheel tires on it, or whatever you call those. I'm not an expert in that by any means. And she was up in the snowy Massachusetts, so she ended up having to fork money out to go get all year-round tires that she could have on her car. All your national licensures, especially in the imaging world, CT techs, you do not always need to be registered as a CT tech to work at a job. Similarly with MRI as well. Obviously, there are some states that you have to, but get that registry. It is going to make your life way easier as a traveler. You're more marketable. You seem like you have more knowledge just because you have letters behind your name. It does not actually mean you have more knowledge, but to these places, it's really insightful. And especially if you go to a state like Arizona, where they're very specific on you have a radiology license or you have a CT license, and North Dakota has an ultrasound license. So make sure you get those behind your name. That is a really big part. And if there are certain states you're wanting to go to, ask the recruiters when you talk to them for a state map. A lot of agencies create state maps and they stay up on them pretty good with, how long is it taking? Every case is going to vary. But if you're going to go to Texas, where not only do you now have to apply for the Texas license, you also now have to take a test too. Obviously, that is subject to change depending on the state. Or if you need to get an injection license, there are some states that require that, or the process takes 6 to 8 months to get that state license. So if those are certain states that are on your list to go to, make sure you have them in hand. Where I'm at currently, Virginia was on my list to travel to. And I knew the Virginia license can take some time. I was very lucky. It only took me like 4 weeks to get it, but I must have applied at the right time. And know that when you're applying, try not to apply when all the new grads are coming out. Licensures will take a little bit longer. Research travel. Research it. I can never say that enough. As well as make sure you don't pay to learn how to travel. I personally haven't. I learned from a Facebook group that was based off of nursing. And just because we're allied, don't be afraid to join nursing groups, because there are things that apply to every single traveler when we're traveling. Hey, has anyone been to this hospital? Maybe you could get some ideas, even if they're not in the exact specialty you're in, it can still help you. So those, I would say, are on my biggest list. And for the budget, I would say make sure you have $5,000, which if you're researching for 6 months, go ahead and look up the 100-day envelope challenge, and do that twice. In that 6 months, you'll have 10 grand. Really, really easy.
So on budgeting, I follow somebody on TikTok, and she has tons of different envelopes that she stuffs a bunch of different monies into. But man, she is so good with budgeting. So there are so many influencers that have tons of budgeting tips. I myself have learned a trick or two, which is really good. But I I love that you put a number on there because a lot of people are like, well, how much should I have saved before I go and start my travel career? So that is a huge call out again, in terms of a tip to make sure you budget and don't put yourself in the hole just to get your travel career started. Make sure it's the right time for you, because the worst thing you can do is get out there and, well, not have anything to live off of until you get your first paycheck. We never want to see anybody basically on the skids until that first paycheck rolls in. So super duper important to get budget
And it is
involved.
inevitable that, hey, you're making more money, you're probably going to spend more money. It's
Yeah.
inevitable when you're a newer traveler, you're excited. So have that backup there for you.
Yeah, because you want to get those souvenirs where you go to. If a magnet costs $10, well, that can add up for every single spot you go to. In regards to finding your perfect placement, the interview, I feel like, is very, very important, because you can submit out to as many jobs as you'd like. But if you're not asking the right questions during the interview process, you could land in a facility that, maybe didn't align with what exactly you were looking for. So in terms of interview, Corey, what are your top 3 or even 5 questions that you like to ask during the interview process?
Well, before you even say a word, when you're on the interview, smile, because that can be heard through the camera. Or I'm sorry, we're on a video right now, but that can be heard through the phone. So make sure you
Yeah.
smile while you're on that interview. That is going to be the biggest thing you do. Just because, as you learn with travel, there are multiple vendors, there are, multiple levels. Sometimes when you're submitting to a single travel position, make sure, this is my one thing I do on every single interview, I confirm my start date, anytime that I requested off, and I confirm my shift, because sometimes needs change. By the time that my recruiter told me what the need was versus when they actually got back to me, maybe they hired a perm traveler or a perm tech to come in. So now the need changed from days to mids. So that's my first one. I always make sure I confirm every single time. The second one is, what is the parking situation? Am I going to be in California, where a lot of hospitals you may have to pay to park? Or am I going to be here where I'm at Charlottesville, where the main hospital here, one of the 2 main hospitals, it can take about an hour by the time you park, get on the shuttle, and before you walk in the doors. I've heard some horror stories that it could take up to an hour. Or are you where I'm at here in Charlottesville, and we can park right out at the outpatient office? And the cost, how much does it cost to park there? That is a cost that will sneak up. I had to pay $300 when I was in San Francisco every single month, which was not fun, but my company did reimburse me, which was really nice. But always ask about the parking situation and opportunity for overtime. Those would have to be my absolute top 3 that I ask for, because that opportunity for overtime, if they say no, okay, they're probably fairly staffed, which is a good thing. But if they say, oh yeah, you can take as much overtime as you want, know that you're going to be working your booty off that entire contract. But that may work for you, because you may want a ton of overtime. You may have that amazing rate that you get, and boom, it works out. So there's always a lot behind a lot of questions. And that's my best thing that I can say, is come up with your questions and write them down and have a piece of paper. So this way, as you're going through, and I can easily share, I have one that I've created that I can share with you as well. That every time I go through it, I have that piece of paper with me. Other than this last time when I was in the middle of a roller coaster line to get on a roller coaster when I interviewed for my next job. But thankfully, she was very understanding and an amazing manager to interview with. So, but that was probably my most interesting spot I've had an interview for my next travel assignment.
Okay, first of all, that's awesome. But that brings up a really good point. When you're submitting out for jobs, keep your phone readily available, even if you're waiting online to go to a roller coaster, just so you can pick up the phone. And if you have the time, the availability to do the interview, heck, we know how long it takes to get onto a roller coaster sometimes. So you have time to chat about a job. That is such a great story and a great example of why just keep your phone on. That call will come in.
And always get their number.
Story.
Always get the manager's number and email. And I know it's old school, but send them a thank you for interviewing you. Sometimes that'll just bump you a little bit ahead.
Yes.
But those are that would be my top for interviews.
It is old school, but it's such a wonderful personal touch. Gotta love it. Adam, thanks for popping in chat. Yes, your recruiter is watching, Corey. Pretty cool stuff.
Oh, God.
Oh, God,
let's hide.
Before we get going, just a reminder, drop questions, comments in chat. We are ready to answer and chat with you all viewing. Before we get to next questions, tell us about your little friend behind you.
So this is my pup. He has been with me on every single assignment I've gone to. Ever since my first one that I flew from East Coast to West Coast. He flew up in the plane with me, sat right at my legs. And this is Little Midnight. He has been everywhere with me. And my coworkers here love him. He came out for tacos when we went out the other day. But he is just the best. He's about 9 years old now. Every single travel assignment, I would say 2 or 3 paychecks go to him. He always has some medical vet issue going on.
Oh.
On my last one in Missouri, he ended up getting a barium enema done, which was really kind of nice to see on the sense of like, oh, that's pretty cool. I know what that is. And looking at it, but the pay after.
I was hoping you would say that 2 to 3 paychecks went to buying him goodies and all that jazz, but
oh, that too. It has, and one of my friends even sent him on his birthday. Her name's Kristen. I love her. She sent him 12 teddy bears on his birthday. So we have about 3 of them laying around the house, and his lamb chop comes with him every time. And he's something I can never forget to pack because he will be in my suitcase the entire time that I'm doing it, And he can be a little noisy sometimes.
See, travel with pets.
It's easy, and housing is not that hard. Housing is not hard at all. I'm not sure if I can name the website that everyone uses for housing, but there's a button on there that you just click, pet friendly, and guess what? A lot of things come up. Facebook groups you can find housing on as well. And I've never had an issue with hotels. I've done plenty of hotel stays. And he flew with me. I mean, that was back in like 2016, 2017 that he flew. So I think it would be way harder to do it now versus back then, but you can definitely bring your pets. One of my moderators, fun fact, he brings horses on his contracts. Horses. Okay. So I don't know how he manages that, but he does.
That's interesting. I've never heard of someone bringing a horse. Okay. Oh, did it freeze up or am I frozen? Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Okay. Technology. All right. Well, thank you for introducing us to Midnight. He looks very handsome back there. And I think he knew quite well that we were talking about him.
Oh, he does.
So you've been traveling for a very, very long time. And I say very, very long time because as a traveler, for the amount of years that you have been doing it, it is actually quite a long time. What have been your top 3 places that you have gone to so far?
Top 3. I couldn't narrow it down from 4, so I picked 4 places.
We can do 4.
Green Bay, Wisconsin was absolutely amazing when I was out there. I was out there during the polar vortex when that was happening, negative 40 degrees, plus wind chill. So that was a little bit crazy. I don't know how my recruiter at that time convinced me to go out there, but he did. And I have to say, they were the nicest patients I've ever had to deal with. maybe one or two that were a little but honestly, I had the nicest patients out there, which made it a lot of fun. And the Packers are there, so I got to go to Green Bay Packers Stadium. I stayed in a very, very nice Residence Inn hotel while I was there. And the general manager would steal my dog all the time when I was at work, and he'd just be walking around the hotel. I come back one day, he's sitting up at the bar, drinking water out of a little bowl, which was
good thing it was water.
Yes. San Francisco was also amazing in the sense of if you're a foodie, that's where you need to go. I'm sorry. I absolutely loved it out there. It was amazing. Me and 2 or 3 other travelers. Oh, he wasn't a traveler at that time. We would go out often and we checked it out. This is when a lot of things were closed down, but we were always able to manage to find something. And hiking, we went and saw some of the best views of the Golden Gate Bridge, which was absolutely astonishing. The Painted Ladies, I can't remember what it is, but that S road that goes down, that goes down that you drive on. We went and did that. I mean, there was plenty of things for us to do. So we had so much fun. He quit on a walk and I had to carry him about 3/4 of a mile, it's pretty sad when you see the picture of that one. Colorado was also amazing. I was up there for a short little time. I think maybe about like 8 weeks. But me and another traveler, we started a Facebook group for all the travelers there. It doesn't matter what your specialty was, nursing, allied, doesn't matter. And it's still thriving to this day, which is awesome. And we would just meet up. We went whitewater rafting. We go to restaurants, hiking. What do they call those that I was not going to do? The really, really high hikes that you go up steep hills. That I knew I would fall down. I can't think what it is. I know what it is, but I can't think of the word.
What, like the rafting
God. It's gonna come to me in the worst moment. And then my absolute top favorite assignment has to be my current one. To say how amazing this place is and was a great find. I could not believe that AMN got me here. This is probably one of my favorite assignments. My managers I seriously have the sweetest manager. I ended up having to go out for surgery while I was on this contract, and they gave me my time off, no issues. They said yes right away. My manager sent flowers to my permanent house, not to where I was staying at locally. So the fact that I know that they had to go through my submittal packet just to get my driver's license to do that was super awesome of them. I've extended out here till my max time. First contract I've ever done that, by the way. Usually my rule is I say 2 or 3 times. That's kind of my personal rule. And also my coworkers. When I tell you, we have way too much fun. Me and my coworkers, we drove out to Busch Gardens when I got the interview call. Which was great. And every single Saturday we're going out. And this is travelers and perm staff. That is something that's also really amazing about this site is they don't care we're travelers. They don't treat us any differently. It is the best environment. And I can't wait to come back here. It is the most amazing spot ever. And every Saturday we're checking out a different restaurant every single Saturday. Mark is a big foodie. So every time we go somewhere, he pretty much finds good restaurants. I just tried Peruvian food on Saturday for the first time in my life. And then we're planning a rafting trip, a tubing trip down the river here. So it's honestly the most fun I've had while on assignment, inside and outside of work. A little bit too much fun, but it works.
Well, that's awesome. So Adam, if you're listening, where do you plan to go to next, Corey?
Oh, Adam's already got me my job. He was a bomb recruiter with 3 weeks of requested time off. 3 weeks of requested time off in December from Thanksgiving all the way till December 17th. It was a miracle I got a job with that request because I'm going on a cruise for that point. He submitted me, God, I think it was early, or what month are we in right now? July. So yeah, it was like early July. He submitted me all the way for a September start. That's the thing I love is he's not afraid. And that's my rule too is what's the worst that they come back? Say no, it's too early of us for us to be considering that date. That's all right. Because I messaged my managers that I was with before and that was the response I got is it's too early for September. But I am off to Louisville, Kentucky for my next one. And after that, since I'm kind of starting to go a little bit more West Coast, I'll probably keep that trend going. Head out to the West Coast again and just go from there. Wherever the travel road takes you. You can't plan it. It just happens.
It just happens.
It just happens.
So you travel almost always, except for your first stint was by flight, but you always travel by car. What are your top 3 things besides midnight, obviously, that you have to bring with you?
My top things midnight is definitely on the list. There's no doubt about that. I have to bring every time Google Chrome, a Roku, or an Amazon Fire Stick, whatever you have, bring that with you because when you if you're going to be in a hotel or anything like that, you can easily access all your apps and you don't have to log into it all the time, which is really, really nice for when you just want to watch something. That is probably one of my biggest things. And a lot of places have the smart TVs now, at least from my experience that I've been to. I also always bring with me my air fryer as well and my little personal blender. I always bring those items with me, every single contract, and a wine opener, because a lot of places don't have wine openers, and that's very important.
Yes.
Very important.
Yes, if you like the good vino, and all different places have all their own, their own wines. Obviously, you have your like nationwide brands, but especially in California, I mean, I'm sure you could find some nice labels that are not over here on the East Coast.
Well, right here in Virginia, it is wine country right here in Charlottesville.
Really?
Yes, it is. Yeah. It's a very great spot for wine, for history, for nature. Literally, this is like an ideal spot for any traveler. And we get minimal snow. So that was also really nice as well. But if you're flying to your assignment, the biggest tip that I can give you if you're flying to an assignment, go visit Goodwill. When you get to your assignment, go visit Goodwill or any type of thrift stores there. And if you need something appliance wise, go get it from them. Do a nice deep clean on it like you would do on anything. Use that for the assignment and then return it back to Goodwill. Not return it, but redonate it back, I guess is a better word to say. Redonate it back at the end, get a little tax write-off paper, and it works out for everyone. And you are able to do an air fryer, toaster oven, whatever it is that you needed. That was a hack I used. And that was probably one of the best hacks I've ever had.
It's a really good hack. Would not have thought about that. Okay, so as we're winding down, I want to do a call out because obviously we use Passport app and wanted to have you share some of your experience about the app having gone through multiple assignments.
So with the app, I've done everything from paper time cards to just sending screenshots of my time. The app is absolutely so easy to use. I really like on there that when you go into the app, if you need to contact AMN, you need to contact about your pay stub, your benefits, you just click on the contact button and there's all the numbers laid out for you. You don't have to go searching on a website or call 16 people just to get to the right spot. It's right there. Timekeeping is so simple. The easiest. Click the day, what my start time was, what my end time was, what my lunch break was, and done with that. And then at the very end, yep, this is my manager, and submit. That's all I have to do. It takes me 5 minutes to do my time on the app. And was this the job that I saw? No, it was another job that we submitted to that I heard back after, which is probably going to be my next hospital, that I saw right on the app one day. I was just going and I screenshotted it so this way I wouldn't lose it because I would forget it if I didn't. Even though it was 40 minutes from my house. And I screenshot it and I said, hey, What's the deal on this one? Can we get me here? And he's like, yep, you're done. You're submitted, which is perfect. You can keep your credentials on there. And it does tell you, because I was a bad traveler in this sense, I did not realize that I was ignoring the little alerts telling me that my California license is going to expire. And then I'm like, oh my God, I have 6 days to do this. So I immediately while I'm at work, I print out the California renewal paper, get it in the mail that day, and boom, I just saved myself $50. So that was a nice thing. That's really big. And your
That
credentialing,
is
it's on there.
huge.
You track your whole assignment. You know, hey, you are 86% of the way through your credentialing. Or for me right now, it says credential completed, which is awesome.
That's one of the best notifications. Like, yes,
That is. Absolutely.
I always like to point out, especially when you're just starting out in traveling, credentialing at first does seem a bit of a process, but as you keep going more and more, it does get easier as you go along. You just have to work continuously with your credentialing partner to get all items cleared and submitted. It does take a little bit of effort. But like I said, once you get the first one out of the way, it's usually better the second, third, and 10th time from there.
It's a lot easier now. I have it down. My email, send it, done.
And then before we sign off, I would love to talk about your Facebook group.
Yes. So I started the group back in 2020 when I was out in California. And I wanted to start it just because there was no free resource that I could find for the allied side. A lot of stuff in travel is always travel nurse, travel nurse, travel nurse. I love my nurses, but I also love my allied team as well. And I learned through a lot of free nursing pages on Facebook of how to do travel. Because building a resume, that's no different between, nursing and allied. So a lot of my staples I found through there, and I wanted to create that for fellow travelers who are starting, looking, wanting to do the travel. And so started the Facebook group, Travel Radiology Wanderlust. We're now up to almost 10,000 radiology techs in that group, radiology technologists, because that is our label. In case anyone does not know that, we are technologists. Despite what a lot of Facebook posting puts out there on the job boards. So started that group, and it has just grown and grown and grown. I go on there, I give live videos all the time. Every tip and trick you can think of under the sun is there. A lot of guides, a resume template, the questionnaire to ask during your interview so you don't miss it. And what I love even more is people will take that and create an even better one. So then we post that one on there. Because the current one that's on there is mine that was adapted by a traveler, and he put so much more on there, which is perfect. And you just adapt it to what your specialty is. And the admin team on there, huge shout out to all of my fellow admin team members. They're amazing. They are the only reason this group keeps going, because I cannot do that by myself. And I really have the best team. And then we also have Travel Radiology Wanderlust, the jobs group as well, where if you want to, you can connect with Adam in there too, by the way. Sorry, I just had to throw that in there. Really amazing recruiter. And from there, I mean, it's just grown and grown. The community, you can ask questions. We're there to answer anything. And I get personal DMs every single day. I wake up to about probably 30 DMs each day. And I also answer every question. And we put out real, actual information. We heavily moderate it in that sense. There are a few topics that we leave off the board because I want you to go get the professional tax advice. Don't get your tax advice from Facebook. So, but other than that, that's pretty much what we're all about, which is awesome. We share the good, the bad, and the great of travel.
You can say the ugly too. There's stuff out there. It's fine. Corey, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. Your experience and the information you've shared is greatly appreciated. And I hope everyone who's watching, if you aren't part of our group already on Facebook, go ahead and check it out. I know I'm probably going to take a little peep moment after this to check it out myself. Corey, again, thank you so much. And just a couple of items before we sign off. Don't forget to download AMN Passport, get your profile started if you haven't done so already. Go ahead and check us out on Instagram at AMN Allied. Of course, go check out Corey on Facebook with her Facebook groups. And also, don't forget to refer a friend. Currently, we have a $2,500 referral bonus for CLTs, cath lab techs, as well as interventional radiology techs if you refer those over. We also have a $2,000 referral bonus for CT techs, and all other referrals are a $1,000 bonus. So refer your friends, travel together. It'll be a great time. But for now, until we meet again, have a wonderful Allied Nation afternoon, and I will see you next time. Bye.